Hi everyone, this is Dee. I can't believe some of the dumb stuff I see and hear our people, black people, say. When I tell you some black people are worse than many of the notable white supremacists that have ever lived, all you have to do is just wait a hot second and a black person will kiss the crack of white ideology and lie on their own people to make themselves look good. My rant is about the comments made by Miss Britney from BritanyChanel. Girl, if you don't get your young ass somewhere and sit it down and shut up about what you know nothing about, oh my Lord. Now listen, if anyone feels their toes being stepped on, please get out of my way. Because I'm only speaking the truth and I will not apologize for the truth. I'm speaking on her recent YouTube video dated October 14, 2018. Black people need to take accountability for their own lives. I'm also speaking on the little video she commented on by Jessie Lee Patterson, Black women need to take responsibility. Now, I don't claim Jesse Lee Patterson is one of us. As far as I'm concerned, he is a white operative sent to destroy the image of the black community by any means necessary. I don't think that man even deserves to be in the presence of black people. Apparently, a black woman gave birth to him, but apparently he severed his ties with black people. So therefore, the white people that have negative agendas against black people, they can keep him. We don't want him. He is Uncle Tom, and he can just stay where he is. We don't want him. I'm speaking on what I've experienced as a woman who has lived in the South my entire life, and is probably old enough to be Britney from BritneyChanel's mother. I woke up and saw a notification from BritneyChanel. At first, I was feeling what she was saying, and then I went from okay to what the F is Britney saying? Just because you haven't been a victim to oppression of living in this nation, please don't try to play down what others have experienced. Miss Britney, let me ask you something, young lady. Did you live in the South from the 1960s to the year 2018? Did you work in the South from the 1980s to the year 2018? Were you born and living in the South before 1990? If you answer no to these questions, you are unqualified to understand or discuss the issues dealing with the oppression of black people, affirmative action, and why it is still necessary. You don't even have an idea of what white privilege look like. So please don't discuss a topic you know nothing about. You can't speak on an issue which affects 55% of the black population who live in the South because you are not qualified to speak on this issue, ma'am. Just because you are in college, that doesn't mean anything. Just because you're in college, I went to college. Heck, I have a degree. But I don't speak on topics that I don't have hard, cold facts on. Just because you are in college and don't have children does not give you license to bash other black women. Have you completed an in-depth blind study on the sexual choices black women or black men have made and how those choices affect their lives? Most of those studies take years, decades to complete. You ain't even been around that long. If I'm not, I bet I have a feeling that you are in your maybe at the oldest, you might be in your mid-20s. You are a young child. You don't know nothing and you ain't experienced nothing. So you are not qualified to speak on anything. When you have no facts to support your argument, you should not speak on the topic because now you are acting like TashaK, trying to chase down a story for clout because you have no receipts to support what you are saying. You are making your statement based on what you have experienced and the people with whom you have interacted. That does not qualify you to speak for the entire black nation. As I stated before, I went to college. I have a degree. Heck, I'm 2 classes away from completing another degree. I have raised black children. I have lived in the South my entire life. I have traveled outside of the country. But you don't see me weighing on anything unless I have the actual facts behind my argument. First, I want to share some stone cold facts from the article What is White Privilege Really by Corey Collins, which addresses racism, systemic racism, bias, racialization, and white privilege. And I will leave the links to in the comments section for you to check out the videos that I talked about above, as well as the article for yourself, so you can make an informed decision. Because guess what? There are a lot of people on YouTube, black people on YouTube, who misstate the truth. Just like Phil from the Advice Show TV wanted to misstate truth. He wanted to try to make it look like black people are against African people. Now you got Britney on here talking about black women need to take responsibility for their black people. No, she said black people. Black people need to take accountability for their own lives. Like she done lived long enough to make a qualified decision about what black people need to do. Girl, if you don't get somewhere and sit down with you are just exactly what the old people used to say. You're an educated fool, because right now you just made a very foolish you made some very foolish choices by speaking on something that you don't know anything about. Boy, I tell you, these devils get out here and get the line on black people. You don't have the right. You don't have the right to lie on black people. Please get off of black people. There's one thing I will not do. I'm not going to boost up something that I don't believe in, and I'm not going to lie on my own folks. I love black people. I may not claim to be pro-black per the way people try to make it look that pro-black is. I'm all for anything positive about black, but I'm not finna tear black people down. Now, I will speak a truth about black, and I will back it up with facts so that we can heal from those truths. But I'm not fixing to sit like you did on your channel, laughing and giggling and kikiing like a little bit like the little bitty girl that you are, because you ain't only a child would discuss a sensitive topic such as what you discussed and laugh about it because you think it's funny. That shows, first of all, you supposed to be educated, honey. You showed your slip. You showed your slip and you showed your ass. First of all, educated people, somebody that's got sense, would not laugh about such a sensitive topic, because you are addressing a nation of people and you have no right to address the people. But not only do you not have a right to address the people, you came at black people the wrong way, because what you said was a lie. You said a bunch of lies based on a handful of people out of over 300 and some odd million people in this country, potentially 40 million of, no, I said about potentially like 30 million of those people black. You made a statement based on a handful of people, maybe what, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, maybe 10,000 people that you personally know, which is a drop in the bucket when you look at the whole big scheme of things. So you made an unqualified statement about black women and black men with no facts to support it, other than what Jesse Lee Patterson had to say with his ignorant behind. And then you had the audacity to laugh about it. Girl, if you don't get your young, foolish behind somewhere and sit it down, you just disrespected your own mother, who is black, and your black people by being so ignorant, by being such an ignorant person in what you just said. Now, I was rooting for you because you have been very biased in the things that you say. But I do catch you every now and again trying to make little old effed up statements about black people. Girl, you just as black as the rest of us. Heck, I got 14% Irish in me. You don't see me walking around here acting like I'm better than anybody else. I'm not dark skinned. I'm not dark skinned, and none of my kids are dark skinned. I got two high yellow kids, and I got two nicely chocolatey brown children. But we don't, I've never in my life allowed them to act any kind of way other than being black. You are not no better than nobody else. Now, that's one thing I tell them. And I also tell them, when you see these kids at school acting crazy and stuff, don't pick on them. Don't mistreat them. You don't know what that child is going through at home. You don't know what their life is like. You have no right at sitting on YouTube to make a qualified statement about other black people when you don't know what they're going through and you don't know what their life is like. You haven't done any studies. The only thing you've done is sat on your educated, foolish behind and made a very foolish, ignorant statement, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And somebody need to pull your young coattail. You need to consider your coattail pulled today, honey. Because if you're going to say something about black women, make sure you get the facts and get them right. Don't sit up here. That's the reason why people look at black folks negatively, because of black people like you who have the audacity to go on a nationwide platform and make an unqualified statement. Somebody need to grab you by your hair and throw you on the ground. Now, I do not condone violence, but you need your behind whooped. You need your behind whooped because you just threw your own black people under the bus. That's why we can't get nowhere. That's why as a group of people, we can't get anywhere because you are a crowd. You are a big crowd. You just tore down your own people for the sake of YouTube coin, crab. That's what you are, a crab. Oh, Lord Jesus, please help me, because this little girl done got me hot. This little girl done got me hot, hot, hot. Ooh, that got me hot. Just ain't nothing but a crab to sit on her and make a statement without am fact, as we say back in the day, am fact. That don't make me uneducated either, because I can get on anybody's level. Am fact. I ain't too good, too big, or too bold to get on anybody's level if it means I can get through to them and get a point to them. Oh, Jesus Christ. Help me, Lord, please, with these young, black, stupid people who think they so educated they can say whatever they want to say about people online and nobody say anything or pull their coattail. Woo! Okay. First, I want to share some stone cold facts from the article, What is White Privilege Really? By Corey Collins, which addresses racism, systemic racism, bias, racialization, and white privilege. And I will leave the links in the comments section, as I stated before, for the videos and for this topic. What is racism? So, one helpful definition comes from Matthew Clare and Jeffrey S. Dennis. Sociology on racism. Now that says sociology. In other words, that's an in-depth study of racism, not just somebody's statement. Because, sweetheart, you made an unqualified statement. You didn't do a study. Did you do a study? Did you do any kind of study before you made that statement? I think not. They define racism as individual and group level processes and structures that are implicated in the reproduction of racial inequality. Racial inequality. Before you can even look at white privilege, you must first look at racism. You must first look at racial inequality so you can understand where people come from when they say that they have been a victim of racial inequality vis-a-vis white privilege. Now, the young lady that was on the video that you were laughing about, of course you don't understand what she went through because you didn't even come up during the same time she came up in. So how could you possibly understand what that woman, just because she looked nice and she was dressed nice, that just simply means she worked hard to achieve some things. But it doesn't mean that she wasn't a victim of white privilege, and it doesn't mean she wasn't a victim of racism. You are not qualified, ma'am, young lady, to even state anything about that woman's situation, because you don't even know what you're talking about. Just because she didn't necessarily articulate her viewpoint well doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Systemic racism happens when these structures or processes are carried out by groups with power, such as governments, businesses, or schools. Or schools. Did she not say that she didn't even understand that she was a victim of white privilege when she was going to school at UCLA? She didn't understand the context of what white privilege was. So how could you know that you've been a victim of something if you don't even know it exists? You don't know what that woman went through. She could have been talked down on, looked down on, mistreated. Her grades could have been affected. Because if you don't think there are some people who are prejudiced enough to give a black person a low grade and a white person a high grade just because they don't like black people, you are sadly mistaken. And for you to sit on your platform and laugh and kiki and act like you done something so smart and so intelligent and so smart, you are ignorant jackass is what you are. You're ignorant. Because you are speaking on things you know nothing about. Racism differs from bias, which is a conscious or an unconscious prejudice against an individual or group based on their identity. Excuse me. Basically, racial bias is a belief. Racism is what happens when that belief translates into action. For example, a person might unconsciously or consciously believe that people of color are more likely to commit crime or be dangerous. That's a bias. A person may become anxious if they perceive a black person as angry. That stems from bias. A person such as yourself, Miss Britney of the BritneyChanel, may be biased by stating that black women make bad choices in who they sleep with, and therefore they can't use that as an excuse. They can't use that as an excuse for the things that they allow to happen in their life. You're making a sweeping statement because you don't even know what choices black women make. You know the choices made by a few black women with whom you have encountered, but you don't know what the choices are of a whole nation. For you to get on your social platform and make a statement like that, an unqualified statement, that is ignorancy run amok. That is very ignorant. That is very biased. And like I said, somebody need to pull your coattail because you, ma'am, are wrong. You are wrong, honey. You are wrong. Basically, racial bias is, as I said, it's a belief. A person, once again, I know I'm repeating myself. A person might become anxious if they perceive a black person is angry. Not because the black person done did something, they done seen them tear up some stuff or act a fool, but because they see them getting angry and they just believe in their mind, all black people are ignorant and they'll beat me up and kill me. Girl, please. Girl, bye. You are so canceled in my book. These biases can become racism through a number of actions ranging in severity and ranging from individual to group level. A person crosses the street to avoid walking next to a group of young black men. A person calls 911 to report the presence of a person of color who is otherwise behaving lawfully. A police officer shoots an unarmed person of color because he feared for his life. A jury finds a person of color guilty of a violent crime despite scant evidence. A federal intelligence agency prioritizes investigating black and Latino activities rather than investigate white supremacist activities. What is racialization? What is racialization? Both racism and bias rely on what sociologists call racialization. This is the grouping of people based on perceived physical differences such as skin tone. This arbitrary grouping of people historically fueled biases and became a tool for justifying the cruel treatment and discrimination of non-white people. Colonialism, slavery, and Jim Crow laws were all sold with junk science and propaganda that claimed people of a certain race were fundamentally different from those of another. and they should be treated accordingly. And while not all white people participated directly in this mistreatment, their learned bias and their safety from such treatment led many of them to commit one of the most powerful actions: silence. And just like that, the trauma, displacement, cruel treatment, and discrimination of people of color inevitably gave birth to white privilege. See, it's bigger than what you tried to make it out to be, young lady. It's bigger than what you tried to make it out to be. It's firmly rooted in the oppression, the systemic oppression of black people. White privilege is firmly rooted in the systemic oppression of black people. Black people have experienced racism. Black people have experienced, prejudice, bias, oppression. White privilege was given birth to from the fact that black people were discriminated against and treated cruelly and traumatized for decades. When you sit on your platform and you laugh, it pisses me off because I live in the South. And every so often, something flare up down here that is 100% racially motivated. Some black person gets drugged behind a truck, hung in a tree. It's still here. It's still alive, and it's still well because of black people like you who have the audacity to try to make light of the situation that another person is living in on a daily basis. How dare you? How dare you be such an ignorant and silly young black woman? How dare you? Woo! What is white privilege? The ability of white people to start out the gate with higher credit scores. The ability of white people to receive preferential treatment in receiving job offers and promotions. The ability to quickly change their lives after being incarcerated versus a black person who commits the same crime and attempts to be employed and receive the same fair treatment as the white person. Better treatment by the judicial system. Better treatment in buying and selling homes. So Miss Britney of BritneyChanel, I guess when D.L. Hughley was talking about when he shared the experience of privilege and discrimination that he experienced when he was selling his home in California, I guess he was lying when a white man came in and evaluated his home for $100,000 less than what it was actually worth just because black people lived in that house. I guess he was lying. I guess that man was lying. Someone who is a heck of a lot more successful than your little young black behind who ain't even lived yet or experienced anything yet. Girl, speak on the things you know and testify on the things that you've actually seen, and quit trying to speak on what other people are living and suffering through because you don't know what the heck you talking about. You are a young, educated fool, and you need to grow up, and you need to quit acting so silly, and you need to learn how to actually get some facts to back up what you're talking about. Affirmative action. Please, I don't want to hear now one other black person speak on affirmative action unless you are promoting it. Because traditionally, without affirmative action, many people who tried to get a job who work more than qualified were turned down because there was already a system in place. And white people chose their family members, friends, and other people who were not qualified at all to receive a position that a black person could receive based on their qualifications, but didn't get because those positions were being filled by white people showing nepotism and favoritism. Please stop. Please stop with the affirmative action because you don't know what you're talking about. I worked as a manager. I've hired and fired people. I've had to take the classes in college dealing with affirmative action and why it is necessary. I've had to go through the training through my job about affirmative action and why it is necessary. You don't know what you're talking about. You haven't worked in HR. You don't have the slightest idea what you're talking about. You speaking on something that you don't have any understanding of, which makes you an unqualified idiot because you're speaking on a topic you don't know nothing about. And I don't typically just call people names and stuff, but these are the things that you are exhibiting. And you need to check your own self because what you have done is unconscionable and it's ridiculous. And that is the reason why there is so much racism, bias, social oppression. There is so much and why white supremacists get the power that they get because they use black people as operatives to get on platforms and spew lies, just like you did. There are more white people in positions of power, and they would not always hire a qualified black person if not forced to do so by the law. If affirmative action were not on the books, many qualified blacks with high scores would never be allowed to attend Ivy League schools, Ivy League colleges. So please get off of affirmative action. Y'all don't know what you're talking about. You know what? When you sit here and you say things like what you said, it makes people believe that you are not actually educated at all, that you just might be lying, honey, because you sound like someone who is completely uneducated. I'm just letting you know. Because I know when I went to college, we covered all these topics. Did you? Did you? Because I know I did. And I just got my degree in 2015. So you in college right now. So did you cover these topics? Make me wonder, are you actually in college or you just lying? I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and sub this up. I'm gonna go to sub this up and try to get up out of here because I will go on and on about this topic, honey. It's almost like you poked the hornet's nest and I'm the hornet ready to sting your little young behind because you wrong. Where are your facts about black women's bedroom choices? Where are your facts about white privileges, white privilege besides watching Jesse? I act like I hate black people, Lee Patterson. Where are your facts about people waltzing into college without the good grades? Where are your facts about the black people? And I mean, when I say people, I'm talking about black people waltzing into college without good grades. Where are your facts? Where are your facts about black people who have or haven't applied for scholarships? So, Brittany from BritanyChanel, I guess your next statement will be that slavery was a choice. Girl, get your young ass and sit it down and talk what you know for sure, supported by facts, and testify to that which you have seen, honey. Stop being a biased operative for white elitists and stop stroking their ego. Or are you stroking something else, honey? Believe me, young lady, you are in time out. And I'm giving you the double side eye. I'm not just giving you the side eye. I'm giving you the double side eye because the stuff you said made my vision go crooked. All that old line that you just did. I'm giving you the side eye hard. I'm looking at you real hard right now. I'm going to have to start watching you to make sure you ain't up here spewing lies because I think that's what you just might be doing. Brittany from the BritanyChanel. Are you trying to be TashaK? Are you trying to spew garbage? Knowing that you trying to throw black women under the bus is not the right thing to do? Are you trying to take TashaK's spot with your lies and your rhetoric? Shut up and talk about the silly entertainment stuff you barely know anything about. Please just shut up. If you're not going to say anything nice about black people, don't say anything at all. You are trying to put black women on Front Street with this lame show you just did, and apparently you don't know black history very well, honey. If you don't get your big head, big face somewhere and sit down, young lady, sit down and put your nose in the corner because you don't know what you are talking about. Y'all YouTube gangsters and you two black racists hating on your own black people for coin should be ashamed of yourselves. But black